Thank you, Governor.
Election integrity is now law in the state of Texas.
Texas has officially joined the slate of Republican states that have enacted new voting restrictions following the 2020 election. Governor Greg Abbott on Tuesday signed into law Senate Bill 1, sweeping legislation that further tightens state election laws and constrains local control of elections by limiting counties' ability to expand voting options. The governor's signature ends months of legislative clashes and standoffs during which Democrats, propelled by concerns that the legislation raises new barriers for marginalized voters, force Republicans into 2 extra legislative sessions. SB 1 is set to take effect 3 months after the special legislative session, in time for the 2022 primary elections.
Minutes before a midnight deadline, Texas Democrats headed for the exits. Their walkout from the House floor derailed, at least temporarily, a controversial new voting law that would affect millions.
We came together to say that enough is enough because people of Texas deserve better.
But now Texas Governor Republican Greg Abbott will compel state lawmakers return for a yet unscheduled special session. The governor declared this election integrity bill a must-pass emergency.
Yeah, so the next part of this is redistricting, right? This is a 1-2 punch that Republicans are trying to deliver not only in the state of Texas, but throughout this country. Number one, they need to make sure that they gerrymander their lines to keep power. And number two, they've got to minimize the minorities that do exist within those lines, minimize their voices. And so the next part of this is going to be redistricting. I fully plan to show up.
While SB 1 makes some changes that could expand access, namely increasing early voting hours in smaller, mostly Republican counties, the new law otherwise restricts how and when voters cast ballots. It specifically targets voting initiatives used by diverse Democratic Harris County, the state's most populous, by banning overnight early voting hours and drive-through voting, both of which proved popular among voters of color last year. The new law also will ratchet up voting by mail rules in a state where the option is already significantly limited, give partisan poll watchers increased autonomy inside polling places by granting them free movement, and set new rules and criminal penalties for voter assistance. It also makes it a state jail felony for local election officials to proactively distribute applications for mail-in ballots, even if they are providing them to voters who automatically qualify to vote by mail or groups helping get out the vote. Governor Greg Abbott's signing of this archaic and restrictive voting rights bill into law is just further development of the snowballing authoritarian lock the Republican Party has over the nation. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jackson White, co-founder and chief of content at Politiscope, and thanks for tuning in again today to TYT Now. The unpopularity of Republican policies among the majority of Americans is nothing new. We all know the last 2 Republican presidents lost the popular vote, and trickle-down economics has been a proven failure for over 40 years. And that's exactly why the GOP relies so desperately on emotional propaganda to maintain the loyalty of their base. And it's also why they rely so desperately on cheating to win elections. The law already faces 2 legal challenges from Harris County and a coalition of community advocacy groups that argue the law creates new hurdles and restrictions that will suppress voters and violates the U.S. Constitution and numerous federal laws. 3 more lawsuits with the same arguments swiftly followed the signing of the bill. Another legal challenge was filed in State District Court in Harris County. There are also questions on whether the U.S. Department of Justice will sue Texas over the new law, as it did Georgia earlier this year after lawmakers there passed a new law to tighten elections. If the Democrats don't step up their efforts against the GOP immediately, there may not be many legitimate chances to do so moving forward. Without eliminating the filibuster, Joe Biden's agenda is dead. Without packing the Supreme Court, right-wing authoritarian positions will always win. Above all else, the left needs to be more willing to break traditional norms and play hardball, or else our time will run out.